A warm welcome, fellow citizens, to this second update from Transparency International Zambia under the Kuteteza Masankho election project. As part of our long-term election observation, ahead of the August 2026 general elections, Transparency International Zambia continues to monitor the electoral environment nationwide and engage with stakeholders on issues affecting electoral integrity. Through these election project updates, we seek to inform citizens and promote peaceful, transparent, and credible elections. In this second update, we focus on 3 issues, and these issues have emerged from our election monitoring activities, and these include incidents of political violence and concerns regarding selective enforcement, public declaration of assets and liabilities by presidential candidates, and key findings from our analysis of political party manifestos ahead of the 2026 general elections. Let me start with the first issue, political violence and concerns regarding selective enforcement. TIZ remains concerned by reports of political violence, intimidation, and growing political tensions emerging from various parts of the country. Notably, in Kabwe district, reports indicated that a meeting scheduled to be addressed by the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity aspiring candidate for Kabwe Central, Mr. Patrick Chishala, was disrupted by suspected UPND political party cadres who damaged campaign equipment and later vandalized property at the candidate's residence. The situation reportedly escalated further, resulting in arrests and heightened tensions in the district. In Section 110, Subsection 1 of the Electoral Process Act number 35 of 2016, as amended by Act number 12 of 2026, the Commission is obliged to enforce the Code of Conduct specified in the schedule. Section 4, subsection 1I of the Code of Conduct allows political parties and candidates to carry out campaign meetings and rallies peacefully. In contrast, Section 4, subsection 3 provides a penalty of a fine not exceeding 100 penalty units or imprisonment not exceeding 1 year, or both upon conviction for contravening the said provision. The developments alluded to earlier raise concerns about both the prevalence of violence, political violence, and public perception regarding the fair and consistent enforcement of electoral laws. Political violence undermines citizens' constitutional right to participate in political activities freely and creates an environment of fear. Equally, the credibility of electoral management depends not only on the existence of the rules, but also on their fair, transparent, and consistent application to all political players. TIZ therefore calls upon all political parties and their supporters to reject violence and intimidation in all its form. We further urge the Zambia Police and the Electoral Commission of Zambia to ensure that the law and the Electoral Code of Conduct are applied impartially and without favor, regardless of the perpetrators' political affiliation. Issue number 2, public declaration of assets and liabilities by presidential candidates. TIZ noted with interest the recent public disclosure of assets and liabilities by Citizens First presidential candidate, Mr. Hari Kalava, following his nomination with the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The publication of the declaration sparked significant public debate about transparency, accountability, and integrity among individuals seeking for presidency. TIZ welcomes this development and considers the example set by Mr. Kalaba worthy of emulation. The periodic and consistent declaration of assets and liabilities is an important anti-corruption prevention measure, as it promotes transparency, helps to deter illicit enrichment, and provides citizens with a benchmark against which public leaders can be held to account. In this regard, TIZ encourages all presidential candidates contesting the August 2026 general elections to voluntarily disclose their assets and liabilities they declared to the Electoral Commission of Zambia. While public disclosure is not currently a legal requirement, there is equally no legal prohibition against candidates voluntarily making such information public. TIZ further believes that the discussion should not be about whether candidates are compelled to disclose their assets, as reported in some sections of the media. And an example can be given where the presidential aide for media is quoted as having said that the declaration by Citizens First presidential candidate, Mr. Hari Kalaba, will not compel the Republican president to declare his assets and liabilities. But this should rather be about whether those seeking public office are willing to embrace higher standards of transparency and accountability. The voluntary publication of assets and liabilities by presidential candidates strengthens public trust, reinforces confidence in democratic governance, and demonstrates a commitment to integrity in public office. Let me turn to the third issue, the findings from our content analysis of political party manifestos. TIZ has conducted a content analysis of 3 political party manifestos ahead of the 2026 general elections. These include the recently published manifestos for the United Party for National Development, the Tonse Alliance, and the Citizens First. Our analysis focused on identifying the major anti-corruption and governance-enhancing promises in the manifestos, assessing their clarity and evaluating their contribution to the fight against corruption in Zambia. Generally, the 2026 anti-corruption promises contained in the UPND manifesto are less specific than the 2021 manifesto promises. Furthermore, the anti-corruption fight is no longer a central focus or priority, as good governance and anti-corruption are now presented conceptually as a pathway to creating a conducive business environment. The manifesto also lacks continuity as compared to 2021 promises, as key aspects such as sustaining fast-track courts, institutionalizing the open door policy, ensuring the declaration of assets and wealth, conducting lifestyle audit, and enforcing unexplained wealth orders are all missing compared to the 2021 manifesto. The Tonse Alliance's manifesto outlines more anti-corruption and governance-enhancing promises than the UPND and Citizens First manifestos. The promises contained in the Tonse Alliance manifesto are also more specific and cover critical issues such as campaign finance transparency, fast-tracking high-value corruption cases, and asset declaration for senior government officials, among others. Furthermore, the anti-corruption fight is prioritized as it is central to their governance policy direction rather than an auxiliary goal. Finally, our analysis of the Citizens First manifesto identified a mix of well-planned and feasible anti-corruption promises and some unclear policy measures that appear inconsistent with the current governance and political context. The main progressive promises include protecting press freedom, combating electoral violence and fraud, providing adequate resources and training for law enforcement agencies, and enhancing merit-based recruitment. Furthermore, although the manifesto prioritizes anti-corruption and good governance, several anti-corruption promises outline measures already being implemented, such as establishing integrity committees in public entities and enforcement of anti-corruption laws. As I conclude, as the country approaches the August 2026 general elections, TIZ calls upon all political parties, candidates and supporters and stakeholders to reject all forms of political intolerance, intimidation, violence, and electoral malpractice. We further urge the Zambia Police Service, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, and other relevant institutions to continue discharging their mandates professionally, impartially, and transparently. Public confidence in the electoral process depends on both the conduct of political actors and the effectiveness of institutions responsible for safeguarding electoral integrity. Furthermore, we believe that free and fair electoral competition should be issue-based, allowing the electorate to vote for candidates who seek best to address existing governance, economic, and other challenges that citizens are facing. Therefore, we call upon all stakeholders, including the public, to analyze the political party manifestos that have been published so far. TIZ will continue to monitor electoral developments across the country, provide regular updates to the public and findings from its electoral observation activities, and engage relevant stakeholders to promote peaceful, transparent, credible, inclusive elections ahead of the 2026 general elections. I thank you.